What's happening, everybody? It's your boy, the Huggy Bee, that smooth ass rooster, coming to you with a very heavy heart. Today, if you're like me, today will live in infamy, and you'll always remember where you were when you learned and where you were at. I've talked a lot on here, about my, affinity for country rap tunes. But before I was anything, I'm a metalhead to the bone. And as I'm sure most everyone's heard by now, today is probably the worst day in metal history. We have lost the Prince of Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne. I'm still waiting for it to be like, oh, it was just a prank, it was a joke. But it's not. And, man, like, I honestly thought that Ozzy would outlive cockroaches. So as a metalhead, it's a tough day. I've never met any metalhead ever that wasn't like the old Black Sabbath. That's it. They created metal. Ozzy, Bill, Geezer, and Tony created real metal and what it would become. Ozzy is beyond legendary. He is the one name above Lemmy, Dio, Dimebag. Rest in peace, all three of you. Ozzy's it. And it's a sad day for the metal world. I never got to see Ozzy live, which is a damn shame. I had tickets back long time ago. I think it was around 2001. He was coming to Birmingham with Rob Zombie. It was pretty cool. And Mudvayne, when they were first, putting their stamp on things. And it was also around the time that they started filming the Osbournes. And Ozzy had that ATV accident and had to cancel some shows. And Birmingham was one of the ones that didn't get rescheduled. And they never had another chance to see him. Without Sabbath, they are the reason I'm a metalhead, period. Pretty much every metalhead I've ever known. Even if Sabbath isn't one of your favorite bands, all your other favorite bands don't exist without Sabbath. And Ozzy was the voice of that. And of course his solo career, top notch. I still remember as a kid growing up, my first, what got me into music, period, was blues. And then of course, I couldn't just listen to whatever I wanted to, so you listen to what your parents listen to because they control the radio. If you're old enough to remember that being the only option to hear music being played in the car. I forget where we were going. I want to say it was, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say it was on the way home from school. And by this time, I'd already gotten into music heavy. And my mom, and my father too, would play. They would play a game, classic rock or something like that, or funk, blues, soul would come on, and I could tell you the band, the artist, the name of the song, and probably the album it come off of. And we were driving home from school. Pretty sure that was it. And all of a sudden, over the speakers, War Pigs. And that was it. That was a wrap. And then, through Sabbath, is how I found Metallica. And then it was definitely a wrap, and I was a metalhead forever after that. That's where it all started, here in Sabbath. And then when you go, we didn't have, you couldn't just jump on YouTube and look up any song, or I was able to convince, I don't remember how, but I was able to convince my mom to get me like a greatest hits, single disc greatest hits collection, something like that. And the first song was Electric Funeral. If I wasn't already in, it was over at that point. And it's been ever since. And I was thinking about it, I found out about this. We go to our last break at 2 o'clock. Clicked on the YouTube app icon, and the first thing that popped up, Sky News, was live. Ozzy Osbourne dies at 76. And I was just like, what? This gotta be a hoax. Ozzy survived rabies, bro. Nothing man-made's gonna kill him. And strange enough, it wasn't anything man-made that took him out. It had to be nature come in. Because nature come in, universe come in, and nobody, all of us will one day take that trip. All day at work, from after that point, I was out loud as I could, and it's pretty loud where I work, and everybody's wearing earplugs and stuff. I was rattling off every lyric of Black Sabbath I could think of, and it just, all the memories. Oh hell, let me go see what these wild ass youngins are up to now. Now let's go take a trip. Hey man, what's going on in here, man? Huh? What you yelling about? What y'all yelling? Deucey. Oh no. Go over and sit down, bro.
Hey, Joker made a new song. I got the whole...
Okay. Hey, we're live, bro, so chill out. So where were we? Oh, yeah. Sabbath, man, is the reason I'm a metalhead. It's one of the main reasons I love horror movies. Sabbath is one of the main reasons all my life 95% of my t-shirts have been black with a band logo on the front of it. That's it. They are it. For anybody that's like, well, I've never been into rock or metal. If you're into hip hop, Ozzy he's Tupac, Pimp C, Fab Five. I mean, he's all of them wrapped into one. He is it in the metal world. There's nobody else to even touch him. And we're talking about some heavy hitters. Lemmy, Dio. Lemmy is God. Dio's the voice of God. But none of them were more revered than the Prince of fucking Darkness, Ozzy. And it's so funny that even people that, well, I don't really like Black Sabbath, I like these bands. Yeah, I bet you go ask them bands who inspired them the most. I bet you Black Sabbath is on that list right up there at the top. There will never be anything. Even mentioning Dio. Dio's the voice of God in metal, but that version of Black Sabbath with Dio, as killer as it was too, bro. It was so awesome. It didn't touch the original. And everybody makes a lot of judgments about Ozzy, and it turns out he's a big sweetheart and kind and gentle, and he's the Prince of Darkness. He don't gotta, he ain't gotta be mean. And there's just so many stories throughout the years. And I think about, if I don't find Sabbath and get into metal, I'm not friends with Evergreen Terrace and with Blood Comes Cleansing. I haven't met all these bands and hung out with them and been to all these shows with my brothers and my, friends and everything, and the memories that we have, all because of that one band. Because like I said, it doesn't matter if you don't like Sabbath, which I don't think you're even I know anybody around me that claims to be a metalhead that would say, well, I don't like Sabbath. Me and the ones like me are pulling your metal card right then. You're done. You're not getting it back. And, one of my favorite things, favorite memories when I think of Ozzy, and I forget what the year was. This has been a long time ago now. But it was I think they might have done like 2 or 3 maybe. I think there was, but the very first battle for Ozfest. And it was just a battle of the bands, and then of course they make a show out of it, and they had them doing stuff and blah, blah, blah. But the winner got to go on Ozfest. And the show, the season finale or whatever you want to call it, was live. And they're going to announce the winner. What, baby? The Batmobile? Get out of here. You can't be on camera. Little punk. The winner is going to go on Ozfest and get a record deal, go on Ozfest, blah, blah, blah. And it gets down to the last episode. It's live. End of the episode, they're going to announce the winner. And Ozzy. What, bruh? You don't even know what that is. Go on, punk. Ozzy is sitting there with Sharon. And I forget what Sharon said to him. And you know how shows, they'll be cutting in between and like interviewing and stuff like that. And he did an interview about it later, this moment or whatever. But I'll never forget. You got to think, by this point, this is in the 2000s, early 2000s. But Ozzy's already Ozzy. He's already, it. And it came to a point where it's time to announce the winner. And Ozzy refused to be the one to do it. He made Sharon do it. And he says, this is your job, the business side of it. I'm one of these people. I'm one of them. And I can't look these people in the eye and tell them, you're not good enough. And I remember thinking, like, good grief, man. I didn't think he could get any cooler. But even at that, like I said, it's early 2000s. Even already being the king, so to speak, the founder, one of the 4 founders of metal, he was still that connected to the people and to the fans that he refused to be the one to say, you're not good enough. You didn't win. You're not good at this. He refused to do it. That speaks volumes about a person. Because at that point, he's revered already 100 million times over. Already got the mansion, already got the money, blah, blah, blah. But yet he still looked in the mirror and seen the young man that, as he said, dreamed of being the 5th Beatle. He still saw himself. It was the exact words. I'm one of them. It doesn't get any better than that. What else? What else can you say? And everybody's mourning and sad or whatever you want to call it. But he had a family, loved ones who knew him outside of what we know. They just knew him as dad or as uncle or, whatever. I think people forget that. He was still just a man. And he saw that in the mirror. And I've met a lot of, bands and musicians. And that's one of the foundations of metal or anything associated with it. You never lose sight that you're one of them. You're just one of the people. And somehow you got fortunate enough to be up there on that stage with everybody yelling your name. And a lot of people, like, you can say what you want to about metal, but I guarantee you right now, there's people weeping that never met the man. What, baby? Riddler? Cool. Got to come show me every toy he finds that I've already seen a million times, but that's my doozy. But, I guarantee you, there was already somewhere a metal show scheduled to be happening tonight. Bro, it's going to be lit up. And I told somebody at work, in the next couple months, you watch the shows that get put together. This is going to go, it'll be remembered as the saddest day in metal, but it'll give birth to the baddest ass concerts that anybody's ever seen. Cats will come out of retirement. I'm already predicting all of it. It's going to be insane. The shows and the tributes that'll probably go on for a while. Let's put it that way. People are going to be celebrating Ozzy for a while, for a long while. Like I said, all day after break for the next 3 hours, I'm belting out Electric Funeral, Nativity in Black, like, the song Black Sabbath. It just, it's wild to even think that Ozzy's gone. And, to me, I've always, like in basketball, everybody always wants to debate who the GOAT is. And I maintain that the GOAT of the NBA is actually 3 people. I call it the Trinity. Of course, Jordan, Bird, and Magic. Everybody else has to line up behind them. It doesn't matter who you are. And I don't care what your stats are. I don't care what you won. You all line up behind Magic and Bird and Jordan. Period. Even Kobe, even Shaq. All of them. What, bruh? Iron Man? That's cool.
No,
that is Iron Man. But that's what Sabbath is. Even beyond that, like I said, there were heavy bands and some heavy hard rock bands like Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, of course. But Sabbath was something else. To bring in the dark imagery, kind of the horror aspects of it. And scary always sells. Always. And, it of course helped that you've got 3 of the greatest at their... Yep. Shut my door and quit busting it open every 3 seconds, bro. But like, sorry about that. I say I'm a metalhead because of Sabbath. I picked up a guitar because of Sabbath. I still remember the first song I ever learned to play, because I took one lesson, and the guy printed me out, said, I want you to learn the first couple measures of this, and it was Rage Against the Machine. But afterwards, it was like, man, I got to pay money every time I go, and blah, blah, blah. And, I'd already at that point, I'd played instruments, multiple instruments before. So I kind of already had a grasp of, certain things. And the problem with taking lessons from someone is you're only going to get as good as they are. And most of all the best metal musicians, whatever instrument, not all of them, but especially with guitar, they just started playing. They didn't, they took and started learning their favorite songs. So for me, it was Sabbath and Metallica. And the first Sabbath song that I ever learned to play is one of my top 5 Black Sabbath songs, Electric Funeral. And I still remember the day that I was able to play, the rhythm and melody and then go into the bridge. And when I hit that, bro, I felt like I was 10 foot tall and bulletproof. It was freaking awesome. I remember this 20 something years ago. I still remember sitting in my apartment and hitting the ba-da-da, ba-ba-ba-da-da-da. I just thought I was the man. Like, I'm the greatest guitar player ever. I just played Electric Funeral. You can't, the hell you talking about? I'm it. And that was one of the cool things about Sabbath. Is you could, and it's one of the things I love about metal and music in general, but especially metal. You can hide in it. It can be your refuge. It can be empowering. It can be scary. It can make you cry. It can make you laugh. And like, band after band that I could name, they probably don't even exist without Sabbath. So it just cannot be overstated at how important Black Sabbath and Ozzy were. And I don't think it's a coincidence, because I had said to people when I found out, like 2 weeks ago, they played the last show. And when I found out Bill Ward, the drummer, who had kind of many years ago kind of had a falling out with him, that he was back, and they were promoting it all over the place as the last show, I kind of knew. I told some people that somebody's about to go. And sucks being right on this one. I wish I was wrong. But also we need to my fellow metalheads, we also need to remember, he was 76 years old, but in Ozzy years, that's like 5,000. All the stuff he's done and seen, places he's been, the people he's touched and made connections with that never laid eyes on him or was close enough to touch him. Matter of fact, right before I went live, I was just scrolling through some stuff on Facebook. I got you too, bro. And I come across Bubba, leave my door alone. I think it's called Reels, like the short. I call them a short, but I think they're called Reels on Facebook. And it was somebody, I guess it was not somebody, but it was, because that was the show was on pay-per-view. I guess it was a clip of them playing Mama, I'm Coming Home, which isn't a Black Sabbath song. That's an Ozzy song. And the camera swings around to the crowd, and there's children, women, and grown men of all ages fighting back tears. Some of them not fighting them back. Others are trying to and not being very successful. And I just thought, man, it was like he was telling the world, Mama, I'm coming home. So it's the saddest day in the history of metal, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm old enough that just in my lifetime, we've lost Lemmy, Dio, Dimebag, Cliff Burton, just right off the rip. You could throw Vinnie Paul in there too. None of it touches this moment. I will always be grateful to have heard Sabbath, because it took me from, blues and classic soul, classic rock, classic funk, and it really cemented something in me. And as I've said before, I'm a proud pagan, and the figure, the character, I call it, of the quote devil, always been a fan of that character. Always have. And, you know, if there was going to be a soundtrack, if the devil was a wrestler, he's walking out to Black Sabbath. Hell, even the Road Warriors, shout out Road Warrior Hawk, Road Warrior Animal, the Legion of Doom. Back in the day when entrance music was first becoming a thing, and you didn't have companies didn't have a music department to write original entrance songs. Road Warriors walked out to Iron Man. Perfect. It's like it was wrote for them. And then they kicked your ass and left. That's metal in a nutshell. The attitude, the middle finger to conformity, or at least it used to be. Let's get that straight. Nowadays, some of the worst elitists are metalheads. If you don't look exactly the same, sound exactly the same, well then you can't. Like, bro, it's like I've always laughed, like motorcycle gangs. You're supposed to be outlaws, and then you've got all these rules that y'all have to abide by. Like, well, bro, what's the point? You know, same with metal. It can be whatever we want it to be. It's not a sound. It's not a look. It's something inside of you, something you feel. And that's always debated, who's metal, who's not. But I've never once heard anyone say Sabbath ain't metal. They literally are metal. They're founders. They created something magic. You know. And even I thought, you know, once I was at work, it's like, man, I got to go live when I get home. I tried to come up with my top 5 Black Sabbath songs. I couldn't do it. Electric Funeral, Nativity in Black, and then it was like, well, damn, get this one, but you got this one. Oh yeah, what about that song? And then I was like, well, what's my 5 favorite Ozzy songs? Mr. Crowley right off the top. Matter of fact, when I learned about this, I put in my feed on my other page, oh, rest in peace, Prince of Darkness, put Mr. Crowley. I couldn't even think. It was like, there's so many, and they're all so badass. And to me, they're just equal ground. But sad day for metal. To all my metal brothers and sisters. Long live the Prince of fucking Darkness. Ozzy Osbourne forever will be missed. There will never, ever, under any circumstances, be anybody that even touches Ozzy. And now that he's passed away, he's to the stratosphere. He's untouchable. Nobody will ever in metal. Or in music, I don't think, because one of the things I love about metal is we really love metal. And it's sacred. Like, you just meet somebody, they got on a band shirt that you like, boom, just like y'all are instantly friends. Like, I've got people that I met at metal shows, friends with, you know, those bonds that are formed over a sound, a style of music. Because to us, it is more than just music. And for a lot of people, myself included, it's the soundtrack of your life. And it just can't put into words the impact that Ozzy had in Black Sabbath. Shout out to Geezer Butler, Tony Iommi, Bill Ward, because they today not only lost their bandmate, they lost a brother, a friend, who was right there with them, making all these memories and creating these sounds and this look, and that now millions of people, their whole life is based around it. So there's no way to quantify that. So I'm going to end it here. My condolences to all of Ozzy's family, especially his children. You know, even though they're not necessarily, kids. It's still their daddy. And that's something that none of us know. To us, he was just a figurehead, a godhead, or, the Prince of Darkness, the voice of metal that started it, founded it, created it. But to them, he was daddy. So definitely shout out to them. And my condolences. Terribly sorry for your loss. But we can all take comfort because Ozzy, he was in some bad health. And that's not a problem no more. He's back with the great spirit. And hell, it's Ozzy. He may have already reincarnated by now. Who knows? Because I don't think there was, when they talk about keeping it real, there's never been anybody in the history of any kind of music that kept it as real as Ozzy. And that's a fact. And I think people even outside of metal, this will affect music, period. But Ozzy was bigger than that and revered and respected by so many people. And the tributes and things like that are going to follow are just going to be legendary. And it will never be enough. You can never honor Sabbath enough, never honor Ozzy enough. And I had mentioned at work, like, well, hell, it comes in threes. I don't think the metal world can survive losing one more on that level, let alone two. And I couldn't even think of who the other two could possibly be to even be equal to that. And the only thing that I could even come up with, I'm not going to mention their names, because then if it happens, everybody's going to blame Huggy Beard for wiping out the rest of metal. I'll definitely get my metal card rejected on that one. But long live the Prince of fucking Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne, the voice of multiple generations. And he will truly, truly be missed. Thank you, Ozzy, for everything that your music has helped me with and helped me get through. Thank you for, not just this Ozzy solo stuff, but to Sabbath, all of them. Thank you for being a shelter for me to hide in, for being an armor to deflect the rest of the world. And I often wonder, where I would be if I didn't have music. But at the top of that list is metal. And it will always be that. Everything will always line up behind metal. And even my, started with the blues. What do we all know the blues is? It's the devil's music. If you go back and listen to, that's what's always been so interesting. By what most metalheads in modern times define as metal, Black Sabbath wouldn't even qualify. Because back then, it was all blues. You go back and listen to Bill Ward's drums. That was blues and jazz. You go back and listen to some of those, Tony Iommi's riffs and Geezer over there slapping the bass like a goddamn pimp slapping a hoe. That was all based in blues and folk and, jazz, things like that. And all those things came together to create metal. So it's never surprised me that my first love in music was blues, which is one of the things I loved about Sabbath and fell in love with them. But I'm like, man, it's like the blue, it's like evil blues. It's awesome. And then it's just been downhill ever since. So thank you, Ozzy, for everything you've done, not just for me, but I'm sure I speak for hundreds of thousands of people right now, millions. Thank you so much, bro, for everything you've done for us, for what you've done for metal, all the lives that you've touched, the people that you've helped that you never even met. You never laid eyes on them, but they were helped by you and Black Sabbath. And I'm in that group. So thank you, Ozzy. You'll truly be missed. And there will never be a time in metal that your name doesn't ring. So, rest in peace to the Prince of Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne. Y'all stay super fly and metal as hell. Y'all be blessed, you heard me?